From the Romans to the English, from thriving cities to terrible wars. In this series, I'll teach you the history and the ages of Europe. This is episode 3, Colonization and Industrialization. Hi, it's Jay, and today I will be reviewing with you part 3 of the Ages of Europe. This one will be on the colonization of America and the Industrial Revolution. So yeah, make sure to watch the other parts, and let's get started. Okay, so this is Age 5, the colonization of America. During the Enlightenment, which is mentioned in part 2, the theory that the earth is round was proven. At the time, Europeans only knew of Europe, Asia, Northern Africa, not below the Sahara, which you can see here, and none of the other continents. They didn't know about Antarctica, they didn't know about Australia, and they didn't know about the Americas. And this part over here is not the Americas, it's just Greenland. They thought that if you went west far enough, you would reach India, because they thought that the earth is round, which it is, and so they thought that if you went here, you would end up somewhere here. But they didn't know there was a continent there. So an Italian man named Christopher Columbus wanted to go on this expedition. The royals of Italy would not fund him, so he went to Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand of Spain. They funded him, and in 1492, he sailed across the Atlantic in hopes to reach India. After many months, he reached modern-day Bahamas over here, and he thought it was India. He claimed it as his own, even though the people there had been living there for thousands of years, and he called them Indians. Over the next couple months, he island hopped in the Bahamas, Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, which this island is Hispaniola, and then he went back to Spain. During the next couple years, Columbus made 3 more voyages to the continent of America. He killed the native Taino people living there and colonized the Caribbean in the name of Spain. And this is the Caribbean, all the islands. Portugal went to colonize land too. They landed in modern-day Brazil and founded Rio de Janeiro. Amerigo Vespucci, which, does that name sound familiar? Amerigo? He was one of those explorers. He had been to India, the real India, by land, and he had been there many times before. In 1501, after returning from his voyage, he knew that the land was not India or anywhere in Asia, and the place where they colonized was over here in South America, Brazil. He proposed that the land was a new continent, and the Europeans called it the New World. Today, these 2 continents are called the Americas, North and South America, after Amerigo Vespucci. Other countries in Europe got jealous of all the land and gold Columbus and Vespucci brought back to their countries. They started to colonize too. England started a northern route to reach the New World and colonized the modern-day Canada. France colonized a few islands in the Caribbean, but mainly they colonized Quebec, also in Canada. Spain began to get into the mainland and conquered Florida. And the person in the picture is Ponce de Leon, who colonized Florida. Spain also landed in the Yucatan Peninsula near modern-day Cancun, which is a city in Mexico. The natives there told him about the rich and mighty Aztec Empire, which the Aztecs were a civilization in Mexico. So Spain decided to go into Mexico and conquer the Aztecs. The Aztecs were a civilization living in Mexico. Their capital was Tenochtitlan, and Mexico City, the modern-day capital of Mexico, was built over Tenochtitlan. In 1519, Hernan Cortez came to Tenochtitlan with only a few soldiers. Even though he was outnumbered, he won because of the advanced weapons and disease that they brought with them. The Spanish also landed in South America, where the Incas were located. The Incas were the largest Native American civilization of all, spanning from Colombia to Chile, so almost to the southern tip of, from the southern tip of South America to the northern tip of South America, almost. The Incas were in the middle of a civil war at the time. Francisco Pizarro and his men conquered the Incas using their army, advanced weapons, and diseases. By the end of the 18th century, so by the end of the 1700s, Europeans had conquered the entire American continent. The Spanish in yellow, English in blue, French in red, Portuguese in green, Dutch in orange, which, if you can see, it's Suriname over here and some very small islands in the Caribbean, Danish in purple, and Russian in pink empires. All controlled land in the Americas. Many of the natives had been killed by the Europeans by that time. Some of Britain's colonies were in America and called the 13 colonies. They were New Hampshire, Massachusetts, which also had land here in modern-day Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. In modern-day America, the French and the natives were fighting for land in the French and Indian War. Britain joined the war on the native side. The war was very costly, so Britain began imposing taxes on the colonies. This led to anger in the colonies and eventually led to many events like the Boston Tea Party. During the Boston Tea Party, colonists threw barrels of British tea into Boston Harbor as a form of protest. In response to this, the British shut down Boston Harbor, a very major port. This was the last straw for the colonists. In 1775, the American Revolutionary War began. The war lasted for 8 years, but in 1783, the colonists won the war and formed the United States of America. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence was written, but they had not gained independence yet. The American Revolution inspired many other colonies and countries to do the same thing. One of these was the French Revolution, which, again, you can find out more about that in part 2. Yes, so that is age 5 done. So now we move on to age 6, the Industrial Revolution. At the time, things took a long and expensive process to make. An Englishman named James Watt came up with a solution for this. He invented the steam-powered engine. This engine was used to make other trains and other machines. It would heat up water, and then that heated water would power the engine, which would power the trains and machines. This started the Industrial Revolution, which roughly went on from 1700 to 1900. During this period, nations developed new machines which could do work faster and cheaper than humans or animals could. Manufacturing also became faster because of this. The assembly line made manufacturing easier. Objects would move onto a conveyor belt and go through stations where they would get made one step at a time. Robots and humans worked at stations. Now things could be manufactured easier. Hardware, clothing, and even food were produced on assembly lines. Many more inventions started to get made during the Industrial Revolution. The loom was created to sew and make fabric faster. The furnace was also invented to make steel faster. And Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin to take seeds out of cotton. Coal was used to power all of these new inventions. England had a lot of coal at the time. These new inventions were mostly centered around big cities like London, so people began to leave their farming jobs and move into cities to work in factories in the cities. The main industry became manufacturing, not agriculture anymore. Communication and transportation began to develop as well. In the communication, the telegraph, invented by Samuel Morse, and the telephone, by Alexander Graham Bell, let people talk over distance. You no longer had to send letters. Instead, you could call someone thousands of miles away in seconds. Transportation was also developed. The railroad and steamship were invented to make transportation easier. Boats were now powered by steam, which reduced the manpower needed, and steam engines were used on railway systems across America, Britain, and Europe. Finally, the harnessing of electricity changed the way things were made as well. Thomas Alva Edison used this to invent the light bulb. Electricity also helped to invent subways, the radio, and automobiles, which was invented by Henry Ford, and other things that we use daily today. However, with these new technologies and inventions came consequences. Countries' military began to grow stronger, especially the US, Britain, and France, and Germany. Former enemies such as France and Britain began to team up and form alliances in the case of war. And yeah, that is the end of Age 5 and Age 6. So make sure to watch Part 1, which covers the Roman Empire and medieval ages, and Part 2, which covers the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, and also the French Revolution. And this is Part 3. Part 4 will cover the World Wars. And yeah, and there will be a Part 5. So make sure to watch the rest of the videos. And yeah. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to watch the other parts, and also make sure to watch my video on the countries of Europe. So yes, and if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with your friends and family so they can learn about it too. And yeah, thank you and goodbye.